We are roughly halfway through the Black Ops 6 Zombies lifecycle, and with Shattered Veil right around the corner, it's time to ask some important questions. Because let's face it, things are quite negative inside of the community. And so I brought my good friend DK Dynamite on the show today to talk about the story, the marketing, and the state of Black Ops 6 Zombies as a whole. I really like to start off by asking kind of two questions. The first question is like, and you can pick which path you want to go depending on how it leads us to Black Ops 6. But I like to ask, how are you feeling about the state of Black Ops 6? And then like, what are your interests in zombies in general? Like going all the way back to when the mode started or when you first fell in love with the mode. You can kind of pick which path you want to go down.
So Black Ops 6, I would say, as far as zombies, launched in what I believe is the least controversial state that we've ever seen for a new zombies iteration. I think people were generally happy with the balance of narrative, gameplay, Easter egg difficulty, which we typically haven't seen with any Treyarch zombies iteration. There's always some type of controversy or drama at launch, whether it's the game stability, crashing, Easter eggs being too difficult, maps not being well received, or maybe too much innovation. So I think Black Ops 6 released really polished, and I think was a very big step, especially for round-based fans who've been waiting many years. But the game as a whole, I think before the Season 1 integration with Warzone, before ranked play released, there really wasn't too much, I'd say, negativity around the community. I think it was once people realized the Ricochet anti-cheat wasn't up to par. It was when people realized, hey, Warzone kind of did a big reset again. We lost a bunch of features. I think once all that happened, then with the AI controversy, the voice actor strike, it seemed like everything was fine until up around Season 1-ish, mid-Season 1. And then ever since then, it's been just nonstop, right? With toxicity around the community and people being unhappy. And there's valid criticism, don't get me wrong. But I think, people have taken it way too far. For example, Ricochet obviously has its issues. That's number one. Number two, there's a lot of losers out there that for some reason keep cheating. But people taking that and being like, yeah, every lobby is hacked, the whole game is dead, or looking at the Steam numbers and saying, oh, the player count's dropping off at a rapid rate. It's like, yeah, for Steam, sure, that's pretty obvious, but game's still number one on console charts every month.
What's going on with
season.
BattleNet? We can't see those numbers.
Exactly. So I think people take these these conspiracies or little bits of info and and just run with it. And then I think as a result, the PR has been pretty rough for Black Ops 6 since I want to say like early December. But luckily, Season 3, I think, is going to turn things around for just about everybody.
I really hope so. I mean, I wouldn't say I hate Black Ops 6. I wouldn't say that I am in love with it right now. I'm kind of in the middle because and I don't know if this is controversial to say, but it just always seems like with a Treyarch title, starting with kind of Black Ops 4, there's just always something that's happening. Mm-hmm. With Black Ops 4, it was like you were saying, the crashes and the blue screens, and then the rug got pulled with all their financing, so they weren't able to kind of like give us the content season they wanted to. Then Cold War, they're trying to fix Sledgehammer's mess, and then now Vanguard, they're playing catch up there, and then MWZ, they got to put together that, and now Black Ops 6 was going really well, but then now there's all these integrations with wars, whatever. It's just like there's always something, and whether or not it's Treyarch's fault isn't actually important to me at this juncture because it's still affecting the experience. But like I was kind of we'll put a pin in this for now. But what really is important to me is like the narrative of zombies and that marketing, that build up in that marketing. Like I just maybe call me nostalgic or whatever, but I remember BO3 and BO4 just feeling so much tension and anticipation. The new map was coming out and Jason was teasing stuff, and it was so exciting and so exhilarating. And I'm just not really feeling that right now. And do you feel like that marketing cycle is kind of putting a damper on things?
Absolutely. I think you look back at Black Ops 3, you had memory trailers, you had CGI cutscenes for intros and outros, minus DE. You had, full narrative being explored through just character dialogue in game. And I think Cold War gets a pass because of the pandemic and because of all the circumstances surrounding the development. Again, they were also starting a fresh story. Still a sequel to the original Ether story, but they were starting with something new, introducing new characters. So I get it. Stories take time to evolve. Cold War, I think, showed us by the end of Forsaken that they really had an overarching plot going, and a lot of points got hit by the end of DLC 4 in that game. And Black Ops 6 somehow starts off strong, especially marketing wise.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of COD 2025. We will really never know, but it also connects to, I know something you've probably talked about before, is the whole 4-year development hoax, as I'm calling it, because yeah, the Treyarch has had 4 years since Cold War, but take a look at, I can send you this image later. Take a look at how many projects Treyarch's worked on since Cold War. I mean, we're talking ranked play and zombies for multiple studios games, let alone their own, plus 6 seasons of content they got to do for BO6, and then a whole other COD back to back. I mean, it's insane. So maybe all that's the reason why narrative's taking a hit. They have the narrative team working on, I don't know, the next zombies or whatever else, or maybe they're short people. There were layoffs. Keep that in mind too. So we don't really know why, but I would say it's very clear because of, I'm sure you saw the post about somebody named Joseph, who was like Blundell and Craig Houston's guy.
Yep.
Narratively, I think he played a big part, especially in Cold War, with really tying everything together, knowing the facts, knowing what to tease next. Losing that, I think, especially right before BO6, I believe, like I think it shows. It's really showing, especially since Citadel, DLC 1, that maybe they had his input for Terminus and Liberty, but since then, you could definitely see a bit of a dip with the overarching plot overall. Like, what is the story being told? Why was Richtofen sidelined right at the beginning of Liberty Falls after waiting many years for that follow up to Forsaken?
Yeah, exactly. And what's also interesting though, it's like I get you can see that the hit has happened, like you said, with that guy leaving Joseph, but I still don't understand like why Kevin Drew isn't coming out. Why is he isn't? Well, maybe not even Kevin Drew. Like whoever the spokesperson's supposed to be, it doesn't have to be him if he doesn't want to do it. He's kind of taken the role a little bit, or we've put it on him. I'm not really sure what order of operations is, but either way, I'm not sure why we're not getting more engagement with them. I'm not sure why, like you said, those memory cutscenes like from Black Ops 3 or the music, those cool ass music videos like Dead of the Night or 9 with Avenged Sevenfold and stuff like that. Like that stuff was so exciting. It was so cool. And always told like a different part of the tale that we weren't able to see. Like we got to see Godfrey get killed by the Order and brought back to life, where we didn't really see that in Dead of the Night. So really interesting stuff there. And another really big problem for me, and sorry, I'm not trying to be like negative. I do have some positives I do want to get into, but another negative for me was like seeing how the Citadel de Mor was supposed to be like this magic castle, and it didn't. I don't really feel like they took advantage of that. But then it was a huge setup for the tomb, and then the tomb just kind of like fell flat narratively too. I'm like, why are they setting all these things up if they're not going to tie them together or make them more exciting? I was just curious how you feel about that.
They're not sticking the landing. And I think the issue also is that, ironically, when Cold War came out, they made it clear, like, yeah, it's, it's a Dark Ether story. It's meant to attract new players, people that maybe weren't familiar with the narrative previously, or people that hadn't even played zombies too much previously, reel people in. And that's what Cold War did. It did it very well. Black Ops 6, like, okay, let's take it a step further. Kevin Drew's talking about, let's show, not tell. And I think that's obviously responding to feedback. Instead of seeing hundreds of pieces of intel in a map, let's do a main crew discussing the story. Let's have, more cutscenes to further the plot. And that's great. But Black Ops 6, for some reason, is like, let's tie in with Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies and Chaos. And that's cool. I mean, I'm down for it. The problem is now you need to have people understanding the backlog of those plots. So to understand all of that, now we're at the part where, okay, things are getting a little messy. Now there's a lot you have to follow. Whereas Cold War, it really wasn't that. It wasn't really like that. And the problem is, okay, you're introducing all these new concepts, but you're not really going anywhere with them. So you're introducing Chaos again, but you're not really doing much with it. You're talking about, Vanguard and Craft. You kill them off within the first map. You have that plot with Ava and Modern Warfare Zombies, which we're kind of getting to, I think, with Shattered Veil. Let's see where that goes. But they're introducing all these things and not really doing much with them. And I know I also saw a funny post that I'm sure you saw this too. People saying, oh, maybe the voice actor strike's the reason why we're not getting more cinematics or more story. But I mean, look at some of the coolest cutscenes we've gotten, like Origins, for example, where the characters didn't speak a word. So you don't even need to have them talk that much. We'd like that for sure, but there's other ways to tell the story. And it's funny how it seems a bit out of touch where we're seeing like all these custom cartoons and cinematics for Warzone, yet the view counts on a lot of the Zombies marketing is by far surpassing anything we're getting for Verdansk right now. So there's interest. People want to see more.
Yeah,
to put it simply, at least.
That's a really good point. The Warzone stuff. Yeah, I want to take a note of that because that is something I want to talk about with the gameplay. Yeah, the interest in Zombies is really high. People want it to succeed. People want it to do well. Like the cutscene of the tomb, I think caused even more confusion for me because all of a sudden, like Chord Effects had something to do with the Staff of Ra, and we're seeing like all these hidden bits of information that like all of a sudden the Sam AI found, but stuff that was so hard for Alistair to find and our crew to stumble upon, and it was hidden by the 9 like all those years ago, but somehow Sam AI is finding all this extra information. Just weird stuff like that. And I just want Treyarch to like take a chance. I just want them to just dive in and just stick, like you said, stick the landing. I don't even care if I don't care if they even fall over. I just want them to pick something and run with it and go hard and actually have that passion again. But the Shattered Veil, it does seem like we're kind of veering in a direction that is going to answer a lot of these questions. We heard, not to maybe this isn't a spoiler for if anybody hasn't seen the gameplay trailer, but you can hear Nolan North's voice at the end. So I'm hoping that's unlike what they did in Citadel, which was have Kraft kind of like relaying information, but I don't think they did a good enough job with that. Side tangent. I think the owl and having the owl talk to us in that cut or in the main quest and having Kraft kind of like decipher things. I thought that could have been so cool, but they didn't really do that. So I'm hoping they really take things to the next level in the Shattered Veil, having Sam, the AI, speak to us, trying to lure us, trick us, play a game. And Richtofen is like, listen, don't trust her, or you might not trust me, but don't trust her at all. We need to work together. I know we're enemies. And that could actually bring out some real tension. Weaver could get pissed at Richtofen. I think this could actually be really sick, but I'm just nervous, man. I'm just really nervous.
Yep. I'm nervous considering the rumor about the return of the OG crew in the next Zombies iteration. I'm like, what's the writing going to be like for that, right? Because the thing about it, I'm not saying intro cutscenes are mandatory, but I think at this point, especially with how rich Dark Ether story is getting by connecting all these other games, at least have the intro cutscenes, if they're not taking place in present day with our crew talking, have them serve as exposition, right? The Tombs intro could have literally been a flashback to the dig site from 19 whatever with Alistair Rhodes and Sir Archibald, and the connection with the Sentinel artifact and the ice staff being found, the original ice staff it could have been, right? So there's a lot of opportunity. And I know you mentioned Kevin Drew earlier, like you're questioning why, people aren't coming out. Why aren't people talking? Obviously intel drops would be helpful, but I think something they've tried to work on since Cold War is not have like one person be the spokesperson of all.
That's true.
You kind of still have that with Kevin Drew, but I think they've tried to, go back to what Blundell said years ago in an interview where he's like, yeah, he was standing on the shoulder of giants. It's a team effort and that's great. But let's, we got to see something. And maybe Black Ops 7 is the answer to all this, where all the time had to get poured into that and it just took away from the potential of Black Ops 6. Not sure, but I'm also a little nervous that there's seemingly 2 maps left and there's a lot that needs to be unpacked. If they're trying to set up the return of the OG crew, if they're trying to answer questions that, we still have a laundry list of questions from the end of Cold War that haven't even been touched on once in Black Ops 6. So, I can't really say it's the voice actor strike that is the grand answer to everything. They've recast characters. So what is it, right? Why are we seeing such a rich story kind of being tarnished a little bit? The middle of the game cycle. It's very odd.
Yeah, I am interested in the whole voice actor thing, just simply because like every actress, I don't know if they're all in the union. We don't really know what the contract. Yeah, so we don't know what the contract's like for the Weaver guy versus the Maya's character or actress. So like we really don't know. And then Nolan North is clearly getting voice work. So, but I mean, he's a superstar. So, but I thought Sam's character would have been too. So that's kind of where it's getting a little muddy for me. I don't necessarily think it's the entire issue. I think there's something else going on. Maybe it is focused on Black Ops 7. You kind of brought it up, like bringing up Richtofen and Dempsey and Takeo and oh my gosh, who is the other character?
Nikolai.
I thought I said him, but I guess not. Nikolai, that concerns me too. I don't want to get too far off in the weeds, so we will circle back to that. But what are your kind of hopes for the Shattered Veil? Like, I know I've talked a lot about the story. Sorry, one thing before I know I interrupted. I'm sorry, but
oh, you're good.
I know that there's a lot of story stuff we just kind of dumped on, but the gameplay in Black Ops 6 is pretty damn good. I really enjoy shooting zombies. So where are you kind of feeling in terms of what you'd like to see inside of that map from whatever angle you'd like to tackle?
I think Black Ops 6 has a pretty good gameplay loop right now. I know high rounders might disagree because it's kind of just mutant injection spamming, but I think like gameplay wise, I think some of the quests are pretty accessible, a lot more rewarding than a lot of the Easter eggs were in Cold War. I think map design so far has been fairly balanced. You got like, a large one, a medium-ish, and you got some smaller experiences in there. So I'm hoping Shattered Veil's kind of in between that a little bit, where it's like not too big like Terminus, but kind of in a sweet spot with like Liberty and Citadel, probably more so Citadel. So hoping for some really cool, rewarding side Easter eggs, good map flow. Very excited to see how Double Tap fundamentally changes, not just the Shattered Veil, but every map in the game, against boss fights, could affect high rounds, could make weapons more viable. And then obviously going into narrative, right? I think this can hopefully get us closer to a climax where it's just a map that answers everything. And then what we can look back at is, okay, the tomb was kind of filler just to grab that artifact and was kind of like an add-on to Citadel in Avalon, so to speak. But then Shattered Veil brings it right back to some rich narrative that had been set up at the beginning of the game. So maybe we can say there was like one dud narratively, maybe 1.5 if you count Citadel, but Shattered Veil has so much potential. Bring Richtofen back into the fray, as we've been waiting for since the end of Forsaken. You reveal that SAM is actually evil. It's not her. It's not Samantha Maxis. And then you also tie into maybe the whereabouts of Panos, Blanchard. Maybe you can get deep with it and say, hey, we're going to eventually come across Cortifex again. We're going to get, some big chaos connection with the Order because the Elder Disciples look like the occult. I mean, if this map does all that, then I think we can set up a real strong DLC 4 and we can still look back at Black Ops 6 and be like, yeah, narratively started strong, got a little weird for a second, and then really, swung back and hit a home run to round out the game's life cycle. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for that.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time, right? I mean, this happened in BO2 with things kind of falling flat a little bit with transit and stuff, and then it ramping up with mob. And I don't actually remember how Buried was received at the time, but I know people loved Origins. So we've seen this happen before. It's not like there isn't the ability for redemption. The tricky part with the way COD Zombies works now is, I would say, like BO4, like World of War through BO4, the updates were a lot more experiential, like I was saying, talking about the marketing and stuff. And now, since Cold War, it feels just a little bit more live servicey. So there's a little bit of a differentiation between like how the life cycles of these games work out. So Lego actually kind of changed my whole mind about this, because I was a big Cold War hater. I really was. I was a little pansy. I was so negative the whole time. But he kind of changed my mind on the state of Cold War by saying, like, I really like getting these updates that affect the entirety of the game, because now I can go back to Terminus and experience Vulture Raid and experience Double Tap and get a different experience with that map. And I do think that works really well in terms of it being a live service game, so during the game's life cycle. But after the fact, when I want to come back to Black Ops 6 or Cold War 5 years, 6 years later, and experience a unique map like Moon or something, or experience a unique experience like trying to think of something else off the top of my head. Maybe Buried with the Paralyzer and Leroy, or whatever people call him. It's that kind of gets sucked out of these maps, which I'm not a huge fan of. But at the same time, when it's live, I mean, you can really get a great. I don't want to use the word experience. I've said like 17 times, but you can get a good experience throughout the life cycle of these games. How do you feel about like Black Ops 6 as a live service compared to Cold War, or compared to some of the previous installments?
I think it's clear Black Ops 6 has been able to offer a little bit more than Cold War, and probably because they've had a little more time to work on the game. But I think a big challenge comes, especially with zombies. I know I mentioned this a few times on my podcast before. There is a challenge with the live service model where typically we're used to seeing round-based maps like every 3 months. That was the map pack schedule that we saw. And even with the Black Ops Pass and BO4, minus the big launch, I know 4 maps, 4 maps off rip and then Dead of the Night like a month and a half later. But I think it's a challenge of, okay, we're in this Warzone era. We need to appeal to those people. And we also have this live service model where there's 6 seasons. A season's like every 50 days. It's a challenge for sure of saying, what does zombies get if not a new round-based map every season? It's a matter of, okay, what modes would be added, what big gameplay items could be added to keep people going and waiting for the next map. And I think Black Ops 6 has impressed everybody with the fact that we're now going 3 for 3 on round-based maps with a brand new season. I don't think we're going to get a map every season. I think season 4 will probably be a gap. Season 5 will have one more, and then 6 will be like the big haunting LTM for every mode or something. And then next COD comes out right after that. But I think Black Ops 6 so far has impressed people with the output. And I know people will often say, oh, well, quality over quantity. Well, that's all subjective, right? I think when people say they don't like Black Ops 6 Zombies, you know, obviously they can have their opinion. That's totally cool. Everyone's entitled to one. But sometimes I think people have a hard time articulating that they don't like the art direction or maybe even the narrative or even like maybe the movement, right? Some people just say, oh, game bad, game bad. I'll admit BO3 Zombies had some of the best atmosphere of all time. BO4 Zombies had, I think, the hardest, but I think best side Easter eggs of all time. Yet I think people also are a little bit against, maybe not a little bit, maybe a lot more than I'm admitting, but I think some people are really firmly against the idea of shared mechanics with Warzone inside of Zombies. So I think a good balance would be having Zombies have its own HUD, have, you know, dedicated mechanics like auto plating instead of manual plating, even if, again, it's meant to be a mode that appeals to Zombies, to Warzone players and has to get, you know, the seasonal updates. I think it's been a challenge that Black Ops 6 has luckily tackled pretty well so far. And I just hope to see that improved upon in the future. Like if they didn't have to work on another COD right away, I think you would even see more content with every season, maybe even a round-based map per season. That's probably Treyarch's goal at the end of the day, something they would like to do.
That would be pretty wild. I'm actually, there aren't any, is there anything left in the code that's going to indicate, that's indicating like where we're going after the Shattered Veil? I mean, we've heard about the Ray Gun Mark IIs since launch. We've heard about the Wonderwaffe since launch. Like, is there anything left that's giving us a peek into the future?
Based on the reports I've seen, I know I made a few videos about this. I think it's indicated that there's one round-based map left, which is Janus Towers. That's the apparent code name for it.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Gameplay-wise, like I don't think much is known except like Shatter Blast, and I'm not sure what these leakers might have found. Maybe they found more, but I'd assume if that map's coming out around season 5, you probably won't see leaks about it till like season 4. You'll start seeing stuff added in. I know there was rumors months ago about like Grief and Turn, like a classic mode. I think all they have to do really is figure out season 4. If season 4 has permanent and crazy modes, let alone crossover LTMs later and challenge events, plus good gameplay items, like that can hold people off for one season, and season 5 will round everything out with the last map. And then, you know, time will fly by after that. You have maybe a COD next, a beta, marketing for the next game, and then before you know it, the Haunting, which will close everything out. So I think that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Okay. So speaking of some of those Warzone mechanics that you brought up, like plating and stuff, is there anything? Well, actually, how do you feel about the integration of stuff like that into Zombies? Do you think it actually takes away from some of the soul of the game, or how do you feel?
I feel like Zombies, at least in every COD, minus Cold War and BO6, Zombies always felt like almost like a different game.
Yeah.
And maybe that's in part because of atmosphere around the maps, which Black Ops 6 has significantly improved upon compared to Cold War. But like gameplay mechanics, I think it's cool to have completely different systems and different looking HUDs altogether. I think that's something that Zombies should receive going forward. I'd understand more if like for an Outbreak open world mode, you have more of like a Warzone feel and look to it. But I think for round based, it's totally, I think it's very beneficial to give the mode some aura and have like auto plating and have, you know, different systems that you will never see anywhere else. I think that's something that Zombies could benefit from a lot, just to help further, or just to help improve the reception regarding, you know, how close Zombies feels now to Warzone, instead of saying, oh yeah, Zombies went through a Warzoneification and, you know, it's just Warzone with rounds now. Like, I think to help that, they could definitely introduce some exclusive features to it. I personally I don't really mind all that much. I'm still enjoying the content. I enjoy making the content. I'm still involved with zombies. I've always loved zombies, but if I really were able to have it my way, I would say, yeah, we need to separate the modes a little bit more, because Warzone's about to get its own form of Omni movement now. Like they've confirmed, like the big overhaul it's getting. Like, okay, if Warzone can get that, let's have zombies also, get its own set of exclusive features and systems that we don't have to see anywhere else.
Yeah. The other thing that I think Classic Zombies, or whatever you want to call it, did better in this regard was the packaging of it. Because, score streaks, they weren't, heavily present, but they were in Zombies before. I'm stealing a point from Nova in one of his most recent videos, but the Death Machine, kind of dropped as a power up, or the Dragon Strike, or just experiencing the specialists, coming from multiplayer. It was the way that Treyarch packaged them that felt like it had that zombies magic or the zombies aura or whatever word you want to use. And whereas in Black Ops 6 or Cold War, it's not packaged that way. Like the crafting table is basically the buyable station, right? In Warzone. And the plating is just the plating. And that's
right.
Fine. And then the rarity system, like I don't even hate that these systems are in the game. It's just, one more. And then Gobblegum is supposed to be the idea of like specialized kind of bonuses, but in a score streak package, and I didn't really ever see it before until BO6 when I looked at it on the HUD and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like in the same place as the multiplayer score streaks. Right. It looks identical, but in BO3, it never crossed my mind because of the way it was presented. So it really just takes a little bit of, I'm going to say creativity, but I'm not shitting on the devs in this regard. It's just maybe Activision or the upper echelon at Treyarch just says, no, we want it to be more straightforward. But being able to twist it and bend it and make it feel special is like 95% of the magic, I think.
100. That was very well said. I think number one, I'll start with Gobblegums. Gobblegums are very weird to me in Black Ops 6 because obviously Cold War took a break from this, which I'm impressed that happened, by the way. Like they just didn't monetize zombies that much in Cold War. And Black Ops 6 brought that back. Essentially the watered down versions of the gums, kind of like what BO4 did with elixirs. There's no Newton's Cookbook where you can trade excessive amounts for ones you actually want. You can buy them in the shop, which I'm like, okay, interesting. And obviously, I'm not trying to say we need gambling back with liquid diviniums, like supply drops. I'm not saying that at all. But you can tell people probably weren't using them all that much because they then overhauled the system where they spawn in with 3. So I feel like people probably weren't spinning that much, so they changed that. And there's also no classics. They're all consumables. Yeah. So I feel like the system is just not done very well, but that's just one critique, sure. What you said about score streaks and the crafting table, like I said, it's just, I think for me, when I think about like the war zonification of zombies, like I get a very mobile feel when I see like the comms pop up on screen when like the characters are talking to us. I like it more when it's just our crew talking to each other. Yeah. That's just my preference. But that just helps with the atmosphere as well. Now the buildables and the equipment, I think it'd be cool to have like little quest or some other way to acquire a death machine or something else. Like you don't even need the score streaks, to be honest with you. Like I think it's cool to have at the very least exclusive items like the mutant injection, the Mangler cannon, the death machine. I mean, the Casimir. Yeah. Instead of like, let's have mortar strikes, precisions, and RCXDs. Like, really need that? I think that's where it kind of feels like it's too close to those other modes. Like you just want to have that system, but just with original items. Maybe that's better put. But I like what you said too. The specialists were like had to be acquired through Quest and BO3 and whatnot. Yeah, like that felt great. I think that's again just making sure that they're not sharing too many things with the other modes. I think that's a big step forward to give it more atmosphere. Well,
even again to just tackle the presentation thing. Like I'm just going to present a couple ideas based off of what you said. Like think about the columns, like on Drak. You have Dr. Groff, like I think that's who it is, speaking to us. I don't know how he's really speaking to us. Maybe there's speakers around the map or something around the castle, and you're getting this like play between Richtofen and him. And it's like, we could have that with the Owl and Citadel, or maybe there's like an evil, or Modi could have been talking to us throughout the speakers on Terminus, and we could like hear the reverberation through those like crappy prison speakers. just anything to kind of make it feel a little bit more elevated. And then the same with score streaks. Like maybe Terminus had like a weapons cache room that we unlocked and we found weird stuff like the experimental RCXD with Ether. And it's like it gives us a reason to be like, oh my gosh, they're experimenting with like weaponry in a way that we've never seen before, but we can use it in that map. Just having specialty items presented in an interesting narrative way. Because a lot of the times people will say, I don't really care about the narrative of zombies. It's like not really that important to me. It's all about the gameplay. And I agree. I actually do agree with that when you reduce it to just like one sentence. That being said, in my opinion, the narrative can help inform the gameplay. So if you think about the like Ancient Evil and you're unlocking the Oranos Gauntlet and you're shooting a zombie and you're breaking those arrows, it's like, well, who cares about breaking an arrow? It doesn't really do anything for the gameplay, but because you're like, oh my gosh, that's an arrow of a god, and I'm breaking it with a zombie body to get the feather to float to the shrine. That's fucking sick. That's
oh my
sick.
God, yeah.
And it's
immersing us. Yeah.
Exactly. And then as far as Gobblegums go, I think Gobblegums are just in a weird place also because, like you said, they're watered down, but the systems of everything you need in BO6 is there for you. Like you can get all the perks, you can earn salvage, you can go to the crafting table, you can pretty much do it whatever you need. There's little pockets of power-ups all around the map. I can shoot those and get those, so I don't really need a double points. Like there are a couple that are really good. Like, I mean, getting a perkaholic is always going to be good because it saves you points, but the shields up is watered down from BO4. Like I thought it would give you full plates. It doesn't. There's nothing that pushes past the boundaries of gameplay. And that's why
that's what he offered.
Yeah. And that's why Gobblegum in BO3 and partially BO4 with the elixirs was so powerful, because now not only am I able to get stuff that's in game, but I'm able to push past the rules and I'm able to break the game and do crazy shit and have a good time doing it. Yes, it costs money, which sucks, but you know, that's why Gobblegums were so successful. So I'm hoping that by the end of the life cycle, they add crazy stuff. I know Kevin Drew in the COD Pod episode 2 with Dalek said they're going to add shopping free. So I'm really hoping they go wild with it, because that's what makes zombies fun, is having the ability to stay in the lane if you want to play by the rules. But if you want to go, buck nasty, I don't know if I should have said that, but if you want to go wild, you can. And that's,
you can if you want.
Yeah. So
you just reminded me of a point that my buddy made, Fajardi.
Sure.
He said, hey, you know what's funny about Perkaholic is that there was a perk limit back then. So Perkaholic was special when you got that. Whereas now there isn't a perk limit. So you get a Perkaholic. It's okay, I saved some points, but save some time maybe. But there's not, like you said, it didn't push the boundaries that far as far as gameplay. And one thing before I forget is,
no, go ahead.
Back in, I would say Black Ops 4 is where this started. I think ever since Black Ops 4, it's felt like Call of Duty has really made it clear to everybody that now the game modes are all a package deal. Where I think before that, we kind of had this feeling that every mode was kind of its own. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have things shared between them, because there's oftentimes there's good mechanics. For example, the grappling hook in the Black Ops 6 campaign, we'll love that in like the Janus Towers if it has a vertical layout. How cool would that be, right? But yeah, share some mechanics once in a while. But I think ever since BO4, and not that this is a bad thing for that game or even BO6 really, but I think oftentimes you could see the downside of that idea that now because it's a package deal, and because Warzone's probably like the largest of the bunch, they want people to really make it feel like they can seamlessly jump from mode to mode and feel familiar, which I get it for attracting casuals. And then what that could do is encourage them to maybe spend money in the shop. From a business standpoint, I get that. But I think from, connecting to what you said, it kind of takes away from that special feeling of jumping into each mode, feeling like you're playing a different game, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And the loadouts thing, I know this kind of just dawned on me recently, so maybe I'm late to the party. But when I heard it in Cold War, and they said bring in your AR, bring in whatever you want, and you can turn your pistol into a Uber weapon. That's kind of what Craig said, and something like that. And
yeah,
at first I was like, okay, I don't really like it because it takes away from that difficulty curve. But, having a gray AR, a gray AK-47 on round 30 isn't going to help you. So like it's all about how things are balanced. But then it really kind of dawned on me that the loadout system is just entirely for the shop. It's like just entirely to make sure that you can buy whatever weapon you want and then use it right from the start so that you don't have to spend time at the box or go up to the wall or whatever. Like you can just purchase your weapon and bring it right into the game. And that started with Warzone, which is just another Warzone feature brought into Zombies. And I'm not even hating on it. Like I want these games to make money. I want them to be successful. If they're not successful, I don't have the game to play. But I do just miss a little bit of, like you said, that distinction and a little bit of putting the fun and the creativity and the atmosphere and all these things first. And then because you love that thing so much, you're gonna naturally sink time into buying the extracurriculars that make the gameplay experience elevated. And it doesn't feel like loadouts or gobblegum or anything that I would like to purchase elevate my experience. It just feels like they're tacked on, and I'm just supposed to buy them because they're there. And I don't really want to.
Yeah. Right. No, I think I've always been a little mixed on the loadout idea because on one hand, I want to be like, yeah, maybe just have it exclusive to like an Outbreak to, give that loadout system in. But then for round based, I'm like, that's kind of the mode where you want to camo grind now because the camo grind's become, I'd say, more relevant. Yeah, since at least Black Ops 4, definitely Cold War and certainly now. So you kind of need it for that. But I agree. I don't think I've really touched wall buys. I could probably count on one hand how many times I touched wall buys in the last few months. Mystery box, don't really need it because you kind of spawn in with what you want to use and you build the wonder weapon and you're doing the Easter egg. You don't need to hit the box. So I agree. I feel like there's certainly room for discussion there on whether or not that system should be in. And it is really for the shop, right? I think that's pretty obvious now. Because how else would you be able to use your blueprints and zombies?
Yeah.
If you weren't able to bring your loadouts in. So maybe somehow there could be a balance where there's a mode where you can't do it and a mode where you can. I'm not saying do a classic thing because I don't think that even would work for Black Ops 6. We saw this with the Christmas update. The Jingle Hells update, you can clearly tell, like without the crafting station, without the arsenal machine, without being able to upgrade your weapon rarity, it's like it's just difficult for no reason. Like there's no grand reward for it. Like the game is not built for classic. So if you could somehow have a good balance in a future Zombies game where like you have this kind of classic-ish mode that's built for that, and then you can have a separate experience like Outbreak or something else that has your loadouts. Maybe that can appeal to all, but as we've often seen with Call of Duty and just about any game, when you try to appeal to everybody, oftentimes it doesn't work, and then you end up appealing to nobody. So we don't want to see that either. That's something we don't want to see.
Yep. Yeah. I played the Jingle Hells thing once, and I was like, I don't even like this, and it's funny because it's kind of highlighting the way I want the game to be played, but it just doesn't work with how they built this game. And that's and that's why when people say, oh, just use the pistol, oh, just don't buy all the perks, only buy 4. It's like, I hear you, and what you're saying is logical, but you have to take into consideration how the game is built, and it's not built to be played that way. So you're essentially like hindering your experience for no reason. I
don't like when people kind of get passive aggressive with it, and they're like, "Oh, well, you choose the buttons you press." But I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not how the game was. That's not how they designed the game, man.
Exactly.
To spawn in with your pistol and work your way up. That's not really Zombies anymore." Which I get, it might suck to some people.
To be fair, BO4, I think, which is my favorite game. I know you've probably seen my posts around. I am a BO4 shill. If you don't know,
I'm a massive shill. I'm a shill of BO4 and Ghost, so I'm with you, brother. I'm a big shill for those games.
I haven't played Ghost, so I need to go back and experience it. But BO4, I loved it so much. And I thought they did the weapon loadout thing really well. Granted, there wasn't the whole, bundle shop thing. So, but just having weak ass weapons there, ready for you to use if you want to just mix it up, I thought was really, really smart. But you're right. The camo grind is so important to Black Ops 6. Like, I'm not even really upset about it, but it just does it just takes away a little bit from what the progression in Zombies initially was, which was getting more powerful.
As you go.
Yeah. Where that kind of is still there, but it more feels like I'm ticking off a task list. Oh, gotta get Jug, gotta get Quick Revive, gotta get my weapon ready up, gotta get to punch level 1, and just like climbing a bunch of little tier lists all the way up to the top.
There's just too many. I think there's too many systems now as well. Like if I could have it my way, I'd say just get rid of the rarity system. And I get it. Some people do like that system, but I don't want Zombies to be a camo grinding simulator either, because I think that's what Modern Warfare Zombies turned into when it stopped getting a lot of support. And zombies is so much more than that, and deserve so much more than that. And I think the gameplay loop could be improved in that regard. It's like, get rid of some of those systems, simplify it a little bit. I think BO4 did it really well, but now there's so many systems, right? You have the gunsmith, you can make zombie specific builds, you have your camel grind, you have these exploits and methods to do all that. There's almost so much, almost too much. And maybe that's fine to, again, appeal to more people, but I like what you mentioned before, like that checklist, kind of working your way up there. It's almost like now that the checklist is even bigger.
It is.
But is it all that worth it for some people? Like it's definitely subjective.
So how do you feel about kind of zombies going from more of the progression in the map to in the menus? There's some gameplay stuff in the map, like we were just saying a second ago with the task list. But I've been going back and playing the classics because I'm working on this video. And I played BO1's Moon. Like I really played it. Like I didn't just get it for gameplay footage. I was really, really diving in and experiencing it. And the hacker and, the excavators, like changing the way I'm going to interface with the biodome and, just going up through the labs and seeing the Nova crawlers like jump out at me. They're only like in that space, and the astronauts, and going out to no man's land. Like there's so much diversity in Moon. I know that's a very specific niche example, but it's only inside of Moon. But like we were saying before with the progression in Cold War and BO6, it kind of works on every map because of that live service model, essentially turning the progression from in-map to in-menu. So how do you feel about all that?
They need to figure out a balance with what you said, where the map has its own personality, has its own exclusive features that you won't find in multiplayer, you won't find in zombies, or any other round-based map for that matter. Have that, but with a mix of, okay, the next season we're going to add double tap, which can then impact all the maps differently. Like, still have things that you can bring from map to map thanks to Wonder Fizz, or thanks to, field upgrade augments, whatever, but still have maps offer exclusive traps or strats or mechanics. You want to talk about Moon, the hacking device, the astronaut helmet. There's so many like very niche things that a map can have. Look at Buried. I mean, with the chalk. I mean, I can think of maybe go back to any round-based map before maybe Cold War, and you'll see most of the maps offered something very unique and different. That anytime you mention that map, you'll think of that mechanic right away. Which I think something lacking in Cold War and BO6 so far is, I get what the high rounders are saying. The gameplay loop's the same, and it's the same strat every map. I get that. Even if high rounders aren't a big majority of the community, they're absolutely right for expressing that criticism that there should be something different about each map that allows you to get to a high round or to play the map differently from other maps. But still, with the live service model, offering very valuable gameplay items that'll boost replayability because you can test whatever that is on all the maps to find something different. Like, I think that's important. And I think Black Ops 6 got real close to finding that balance. But again, because Treyarch's possibly working on the next game, and maybe there's this big focus on Warzone now for season 3, like maybe things are a little bit scattered, priority wise, to get everything working properly. And plus Treyarch moving to this engine since Vanguard. I think that's also been an adjustment period for them to, figure things out. They've had,
definitely.
They've been strained on time, let alone working on other games projects, like again, ranked play, zombies, and whatever else. I think that's something that's been a little problematic. But I was just curious on your thoughts, if you have a second, on maybe an Easter egg award for each map that lets you bring the Pack-a-Punch camos into other game modes. Like, I think that would be massive, and I feel like it's simple to do because people out there have done exploits to do that already. So clearly it works. I mean, I think that right there can give a map some personality a little bit. Like, beat this map's Easter egg, get that Pap camo for MP and Warzone now. Like, what do you think about that one? Like, I think that would be a cool idea.
I think that would be super awesome. I think it would also, I actually would love a repetition reward. So maybe reward 1 is getting the Pap camo, or maybe it's getting a couple Gobblegum, and then reward 2 is getting the Pap camo, and then reward 3 is getting some sort of narrative tied skin. And then you can kind of earn maybe like 100 COD points every time you beat it from that point on, or something. Like, they are not encouraging replayability in my opinion with the Easter eggs. So yeah, I think that would be awesome. That is actually my biggest, well, I have a lot of gripes with Black Ops 6, but there is a lot of good. I know it's not sounding like it, but I promise there is. But with BO6, sorry, with BO4, I loved, and it didn't come until Alpha Omega's update, but I loved that I could grind those supply drops and unlock all the mastercrafts and the
Oh
DLC
yeah.
weapons and stuff. That was really awesome. And so the fact that there's just not one way to earn COD points outside of the battle pass that you kind of have to pay for,
Mhm.
and I just think that's kind of lame. Like the game, it's not like the game is entirely free. It's $70 for MP campaign and zombies. Warzone's free, but I have to pay for the premium battle pass and that, or the black cell or whatever you want to call it. And there's no way to help me earn extra bundles. There's no way to help me earn anything really. It's just kind of getting the camos that are in game, which are good, but some of the stuff in the shop is like beautifully crafted, and I would love to be able to earn that. So finding a sweet spot between, like we were saying before, with the uh, menu progression versus the in-game progression, a balance with rewards and stuff, paying for stuff. Like I just I think they just are all gas and no brakes with what particular ideology they want to push inside of their game with whatever systems they have, instead of marrying a lot of good ideas that are player first. It's monetization first, or just like kind of the lowest common denominator for rewards. It's interesting. I don't know why they're doing it like that.
I'm puzzled because it seems like the rewards you get for beating the BO6 Easter egg should be the rewards you get for doing directed mode, whereas beating the standard Easter egg should be like a Mastercraft Wonder Weapon skin or the Pack-a-Punch camo or something, like you said, with repetition. It's weird because it goes back to the COD cycle, right? I know every studio has their vision. Regardless of using the same engine now, we're still seeing a lack of features and a lack of rewards. MW3 was the gold standard in a number of ways, right? First, Warzone Easter eggs, like we saw in Fortune's Keep Day 1. That should be how Warzone Map always comes out. Zombies, we saw a Tracer blueprint. You saw some crazy operator skins. You saw an insane animated camo. Even Modern Warfare 2, go back to that. DMZ and raids, repetition. Get this weapon case or beat this raid several times. You're going to be getting, a blueprint or an operator skin. Zombies can easily do all that so much better. And there's so much potential too. Like, what about the ability to earn unlimited perkaholics by beating a certain Easter egg with, a crazy challenge behind it, either being timed or with no perks? Something like that is like, that to me, it's infinite replayability. And I feel like for some reason, like Zombies isn't there within BO6 as far as rewards go. And it's actually the game overall. Like, I think you've seen lots of criticism with all the challenge events so far. A blueprint that has no tracers or an operator skin somebody doesn't like. Like, where are the camos? MW3 did it. Maybe not flawlessly, but MW3 showed us just last year how to do rewards like that. And even MW2 did it a little bit. So it's weird that Black Ops 6, kind of going back to what you said earlier, is kind of experimenting more. Now there's event passes, which, without going off on a tangent on that, event passes are just half price bundles. All the best rewards are in the free trek anyway. Who cares? I know people think that's like a shill take to say, but it's just odd that with a Treyarch game, a Black Ops to be specific, that arguably has been more popular than MW2 and 3, hasn't offered better rewards in ways that the last few games did. And then, and also to what you said about like experiments that we've seen in Treyarch CODs, like look at Black Ops 4, for example. No weapons were in supply drops until Days of Summer. And then after a few months of that controversy, then there was the black market revamp, which was perfect. Get X amount of cases, trade for what you want. You mentioned this already. That's excellent. You want to bring supply drops back? Just have the black market revamp from BO4. Nobody would complain because there's a guaranteed way to get what you want by just playing.
They've I was watching a Neuro Cinema video the other day, and I know he's been pretty negative lately, but he made a good point of just like they seem to have like a good idea from MW3 or MW2 or Black Ops 4 with the shop, and then they like leave it in the past and then start over.
Reset.
and I get that to some extent, but I also think it hurts more than it helps, because we're leaving all these tried and true systems in the past that really could be built upon and turned into something great. And I really do I think this is pretty common take now, but I think we're actually kind of seeing the COD cycle shoot itself in the foot, really, because I don't know. I love Zombies. I love Black Ops 6. I love Treyarch. I love this franchise, but I don't know how many times I can get hyped for like a death machine coming out. Like
Right.
I don't know. Like I double tap coming back is great, and I actually That's probably one thing I am excited for. I like the ray gun Mark II. I'm excited for that. But, you know, we've been here quite frequently, and I would just rather, maybe it doesn't have to be, a 3 or 4 years, but maybe like a 2 year cycle for a game, just to let the game breathe a little bit and allow it
Right.
to mature. And the COD cycle is just, it's wearing me out a little bit. As much as I love the game and I love getting hyped for the next thing, is am I out of touch for that, or?
I don't think so at all. I think it's funny because the excuse used to be, okay, different engines, different visions, takes time to like port something over and build something from the ground up. Okay, but now we're on this unified engine,
Yeah.
and it kind of connects to Warzone a little bit, which is funny. They call it something Warzone 2.0, and it got rid of all the quality of life from the last 3 years, and you have to wait, 2-3 years again to get back to where we were. Zombies also could have the same issue here, so that's why I'm excited to see if Black Ops 7, whatever the game is, offers carry forward. Because let's say you have Outbreak or you have more round-based maps in that game, and if you could just bring everything you had in BO6, awesome. Worry about new content after that.
Exactly.
That's why, and we could say this for any game mode. It's not like that for multiplayer as well. You got to wait X amount of seasons for the same party modes, the same this, same that. Let's drop games with 90% of that, so that the rest of the life cycle, which is not very long, it's only 6 seasons, less than a year, can focus on original ideas, brand new concepts, things we haven't seen before, and once in a while bring something back. But we just had the Death Machine update in Cold War, added to the crafting table, added to multiplayer as a streak, and I get what you're saying fully. Like, that's not. I think that's a very valid take to say, yeah, now we're on the same engine. There shouldn't be an issue to have to wait for these features to be reintroduced and added back in. Like, let's just see new things later on. And I hope for the best, man. I really hope for the best, because I think looking at like the camo tracking feature, for example, something MW3 did well, BO6 didn't have at launch. Introduced it in a bit of a different way. It hasn't really worked well the last couple of weeks or longer. It's kind of broken. Maybe that's proof that even though they're on the same engine, there's still different studio visions being implemented, and there's still nooks and crannies they have to work out that aren't a seamless add-on to each game. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a way to explain it. Like, even with the same engine, it's not going to solve all the problems of waiting for things.
It'd just be, it may help, but it's not going to be perfect. And the thing is, I bet the devs want to add new ideas. Like, this is something I was thinking about with Zombies specifically. I'm sure MP and Warzone maybe fall into this a little bit, but if I'm a dev and I'm starting my career, I'm 20, I'm fresh out of dev school. I don't think that's a thing, but let's just pretend it is. They got their degree in college. They're trying to apply, and they want to make their mark on the world with their artistic visions and whatever. And then you work for Call of Duty, and then they just tell you, oh, we're going to be like redoing the same stuff over and over. And it's kind of like this dance between, giving the people like new engines and new ideas and some new mechanics, but then we're also like nostalgia baiting you a little bit. And I bet you the devs like want to make new stuff and bring in their vision. And so I'm hoping, like you said, Black Ops 6, it's like all about creating that framework. Like, this is how Zombies is going to be. But now that we have this ironed out, BO7 is going to bring back the crew or whatever, however that's going to work. But new maps, new wonder weapons, features you've never seen before, making like maturing the crafting table, maturing the gums, maturing all these things that you've never seen before. And, really allowing the devs to take something that was classic and beloved and really turning it into their own. Because I don't feel like this Zombies game is this is going to be weird to say. It feels like it's just still kind of in a little bit of a beta state, or like it's still, how do I want to phrase this? Black Ops 3, Black Ops 1, like these older games, they felt like they were matured. They felt like the devs kind of knew where they were going. And I feel like Black Ops 6 it's like Treyarch doesn't quite know what it wants it to be yet, or something like that. This is totally, I'm blowing smoke out of my ass here making this claim. It's just, I don't feel like Treyarch really knows what they want this mode to be. And I'm hoping that they refine it enough by the end of the cycle to kind of do what you're saying and just add content and make it fresh and make it their own.
Yeah, I think there's always a case, especially with discussions like this, where we only know so much. There could be a lot of corporate interference. There could be examples where the devs want to push further, but they're like, hey, there's a safety net you kind of have to follow because of Warzone, because of this, meeting a quota. And yeah, we truly don't know. Like, what is happening behind the scenes, and we never will. But all we can hope for is that there are people there with great intentions and fresh ideas that want to push the mode further and could find and strike a balance with what other modes are doing under the live service model. That's all we could really hope for. I think, it's like what you said earlier, looking at how some of the older games have aged versus how some of these newer games are aging. I think there is a way to probably have it both ways, but I think there is, on one hand, seeing like a matured experience that, knew what it wanted to be and knew the direction from the start versus an era where, games are kind of evolving as the seasons go on and then end on a really good note. But then when you look back at it, it's hard to really tell, how did that experience really launch, right? Look at Outbreak and Cold War, for example. Launched really bare bones, but by the end of season 6, you're like, holy crap, this is amazing. And then it only got better with Modern Warfare Zombies, right? It was like a sequel / hybrid with DMZ. I think, these games are being built very differently because of the new era that we're in. But I think it would help to let games breathe a little bit. Black Ops 4 was going to be one of those first games to do it. BO3 had 3 years of support, but BO4 was going to be a multi-year game. So I would have loved to see how that could have panned out. But now with like a guarantee that the game's going to last 1 year, 6 seasons max, there's only so much they can really do. So it's kind of like you got to hope for crazy innovation at launch that gets expanded upon post-launch versus like, okay, the game released this way. Is it going to really change much throughout the rest of the seasons? Probably not. You just have to hope for like that day one shock with innovation and new systems, because it's unlikely that you'll see drastic overhauls like Warzone is getting for Zombies later on in the year.
Yeah. I was just really hoping that BO6 was going to be like the sandbox of Zelensky, the main quest style and Easter egg depth of Blundell with the gameplay systems and grindy nature, like that good gameplay that Kevin Drew's kind of been known for. I was really hoping it was going to marry all that stuff. And it just kind of feels like a more, just Cold War. I don't like saying Cold War 2.0. I think it's a little bit reductive, but at the same time, it kind of is that, but with some great ass boss fights. But either way, we've been going for an hour. So at this point in the podcast, I like to kind of shift gears and go to wrap up questions. And then I have a lightning round. And then
nice.
If there's anything else you want to say, you can say it. And then that's it. That's all she wrote. So
sweet.
Cool. So the first wrap up question, and these are questions that you can elaborate a little bit more on if you want, or you can be quick with it. What Zombies map or mode do you dislike the most?
Map or mode. So I'll start with this. I think Blood of the Dead has been my favorite map of all time. I think atmosphere wise. I think least favorite though.
Goated.
Least favorite map and mode. I guess I'll pick the easy answer, right? I think Duran Fung in Vanguard. I think the whole idea of round base and Outbreak being a hybrid, I think this doesn't work without like years of polish. I could see what they were going for, but it just doesn't work. I think that's just not something. I think people want to see round base and Outbreak, just not them combined. So I'll go with that. I think Vanguard clearly didn't have enough time to cook, but looking at that gameplay loop, like it just wasn't for me, man. I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't feeling it. Even as hard as BO1 is, I think it still has that passion and love and just energy that Vanguard didn't. But maybe that's an easy answer, because I will say I love the round base in Vanguard. I think the Easter eggs were well designed for Shino Numa and the Archon.
I loved Shino Numa. It was good.
Yeah, but like I'd rather play Onslaught, which doesn't have much substance, than play like the round based Outbreak hybrid, which doesn't really offer much. It just seems like it seems like almost like what we were talking about earlier, like it's big beta. It seems like it's trying something, but it's not quite ready.
That was pre-alpha footage, right? It was rough. And I felt bad. I felt bad for the devs, because you could tell that they just wanted to make it work, and they're getting lambasted. Yeah.
No, I looking at, because here's the problem with Vanguard is it came out at such a weird time. Cold War Zombies brought things back. It was generally well received and ended on such a great note. And then within 3 weeks of that, it's like everything went to shit. And then that's how you love Zombies until Modern Warfare 3 came out, also released on a high note, and then just stopped getting support because Treyarch had to move away. So Zombies has been through a roller coaster the last couple of years, easily.
I know, man. I know.
On games that weren't theirs either, which is sad. It's real sad.
It's tough because not to get into full like content creator mode or anything, but it's one of those things where I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do that. You know, like this hype up and this big burst of excitement for only it to fall off, and then and then the next game, guys, the next game, it's going to be the next game. It's like I do think BO7 is going to bring some cool shit, and I hope it, kind of like we were saying just 2 seconds ago, I hope it revitalizes some of the features that we love to see from devs of innovation and new blood, so to speak. But I don't know how many next games I have in my heart, you know?
I understand. I mean, 2028 is the 20-year anniversary of Zombies. That has to be a big one, right? With like a collection of remasters. It's going to celebrate, again, 20 years of ether, essentially. I think a lot of material, a lot of potential for that. That's what Black Ops 8. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but Black Ops 7 is probably going to be a Modern Warfare 3 scenario where everything you wanted in BO6 is in that game, plus carry forward, plus 6 uninterrupted seasons of post-launch content without them worrying about the literal next COD after that, which is going to be Infinity Ward's MW4. So Treyarch shouldn't have a part to play in that. Hopefully not dragged on to work on other games, zombies and ranked plays and all that. Hopefully they could just worry about their own projects that are years away.
I sure hope so. Man, 20 years of Zombies, bro. Life goes by fast. Life goes by so fast.
And I've been playing since World at War, so I've only been doing content since full time, at least since like Black Ops 4-ish. But like I've been playing COD. I've had a love for COD since I was like 7, 8 years old. So it's crazy to think about where all that time has gone now. It's wild.
Yeah, it is.
It is wild.
Okay. Next question. Besides Treyarch, not that there's a lot of options here, but who is the best Zombies developer? Or maybe another way to phrase it would be, what is the other alternative Zombies mode that you have found to be the best?
Alternative Zombies mode. Man. I know the answer most people would give is probably Infinity Ward. I think it didn't resonate with me because of like the goofiness to it, and I was still really, really invested in like how serious Black Ops 3 took zombies. So I didn't really get involved with IW, but I really, really do respect Lee Ross and Infinity Ward's take on zombies, especially with the replayability, director's cut, boss battles. I really do respect that. But as far as like my personal gameplay experience, I think Sledgehammer, which sadly they haven't gotten a chance to really do this again, they really did, I think, put in a lot of effort into giving their own take on zombies, like with the horror element of it, with the zombies speaking their own language, some of the Easter eggs. I think were pretty well designed. Final Reich was a highlight. Shadow Throne, even Frozen Dawn's wonder weapons. Like I know Tortured Path was like almost a joke to people, but I think Sledgehammer really did a great job with that, despite the controversy. I think there was still a lot to appreciate from their take on round-based zombies.
Sledgehammer seems like the one studio that, aside, well, Black Ops 4 came after World War II, so I think there was a risk there. There was a risk there, but Sledgehammer seems like they're still taking risks. Like they're still ready to try weird stuff with the horror, and they had like that whole reward system with all the skins that you could earn, and they were the first to do in-menu progression with the Raven tokens, which is kind of crazy to think about. You know, their consumable system was pretty bad, but they really, and then with MW3 they innovated with and took risks with the rewards with all those camos, and they had that like get high mode. Like they really are all about taking things and making it their own, and they were the first to do the jetpack stuff.
Yeah, I really do love Sledgehammer's take on things. I mean, I wonder, right? This is a full conspiracy, but I wonder if for some reason there's less corporate interference with Sledgehammer titles because there's less people playing, maybe not very many, but I feel like maybe there's just more of a mandate to follow some strict corporate rules with Treyarch and Infinity Ward games, whereas Sledgehammer games are just kind of like, yeah, try to reel in people the best that you can. And, you know, do what you got to do, free reign. But then Treyarch and Infinity Ward, who arguably have larger audiences, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's where, you know, people in suits come in and say, yep, you got to check these boxes. You're doing this. You're not doing that. You're not offering this. That's in a paywall. That's a new microtransaction here. Like maybe that's the way it works. And, you know, we'll never truly know. But Sledgehammer hopefully will be able to shine with, what is it, COD 2027, a ways away from now. But maybe Advanced Warfare 2. I don't know. That'd be great.
I actually have the same conspiracy as you do. I think Treyarch is probably the most interfered with because they always have the worst monetization practices in their games. It's always Treyarch's games. Infinity Ward has this like weird middle ground where they can kind of do what they want, but they don't really seem to. I mean, I guess you could say Warzone pushed the envelope, but I don't feel like they really push the envelope too often. But then Sledgehammer, they're kind of like, when parents have like 3 or 4 kids, like the youngest kids can kind of do whatever the hell they want. It's like it's kind of like that.
Yeah. Oh man. No, I mean it showed with Modern Warfare 2 especially, right? Because I was worried about this from the start without going off on a tangent, but Modern Warfare 19 was controversial in a number of ways, and people seem to have forgotten that was the case because of Warzone's success, which was not multiplayer or Spec Ops. Warzone was its own thing, even though Infinity Ward made it with Raven. I get it, but there was this crazy hype going into Modern Warfare 2, like, oh, the COD that will save us all. Vanguard was so bad. This is it. Infinity Ward, come save us. And Infinity Ward clearly wanted to focus on DMZ. Campaign, excellent. DMZ, really enjoyed covering it. Multiplayer and Warzone, you could tell Infinity Ward was they just weren't feeling it, or there was something going on where they're just like, let's just change it all for some odd reason. And it was a very weird thing to see that we had to wait until, for some reason, Sledgehammer's follow-up carry forward game to improve on all the things that we were waiting a year for. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's higher ups or is it internally within the studios, but sometimes things just don't make sense. And one day maybe a book will be written about it, or we'll see an interview like we just got we got a podcast with Blundell recently that we all got to watch, and maybe one day it was something like that where more questions get answered on like why certain things didn't work, why decisions were made.
Yeah,
we'll see.
There's not to shill. This is not a shill for Bobby Kotick, by the way, but he actually did a podcast on this like rich guy's CEO
I did
channel.
see that, yep.
Yeah, I watched it as well. I was hoping there was going to be more nuggets for COD in there. There wasn't really too much, but he said something interesting like, no, we just like fund the projects and we stay out of the developer's hair. And I was just like, do you? Like, I really would love to know how deep they go in, because he made it seem that way. I mean, I don't know why he would. I guess maybe I do know why he would lie. I don't know. It was just a comment I noticed in passing, and I wonder how true it is, because I often, I get concerned, like, how much say do the devs have? Is it like,
right?
Is it Kevin Drew that has the say, or is it like people above him that are telling him what to do? Like, or is it the Activision people telling the Treyarch people? Like, what? I just would be so curious to know how all those relationships work.
I would love to know a lot more too. I think the issue with that podcast I had was when you made a comment about like the PC player count being the largest, and then what that created is that led to this hoax about the Steam player numbers being like, see, all the CODs are combined into one. Steam numbers are down. That means the whole game is dead. It's proven because Bobby said that the PC player count's the largest. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. It's the PS4 and the Xbox One all the way. There's no way it's PC. I think, and even on PC, I think it probably goes BattleNet, Game Pass now because of the price, and then Steam. Either way, as far as like interference goes, I think from something I've learned the last like couple of COD events I've been to is there's a live service team, or I guess call it a live ops team. I don't know if there's like a exclusive one in each studio, or is there one overarching Activision live ops team that handles events, rewards, and some, in menu progression gameplay systems. I don't know if I would hope, because there was a rumor a while ago about like this overarching committee that should help oversee all future CODs to ensure we're not losing basic features day one and waiting months for them. I wonder if this live ops team is different at each studio, because it is very weird to see the difference in rewards from MW3's events to Black Ops 6's events. It makes you wonder like what changed in like a matter of a couple of months to where we're seeing, I agree with getting maybe more gameplay and valuable items in your events, but you still got to throw in some of those universal ones too, like camos. I think that generates ridiculous amounts of hype. And sorry, without going off on a tangent, I'll also say one of the biggest fumbles and missed opportunities was not having Warzone Mobile offer more rewards that transfer to the main game. Because you talk about appealing to the mobile audience. Oh my God, dude, you'd have everyone every week hopping on to play Warzone Mobile to get a camo or a blueprint or an operator that you can then bring into the main game at least once a season. If that alone, I think would be insane. And we saw that once with Condemned Ghost, that one skin. And then Warzone Mobile kind of just fell off the face of the earth and stopped off. It became like a hollow COD Mobile, which already exists to appeal to the Chinese market. That's cool. But Warzone Mobile just became a version of that with significantly less content when it was supposed to be integrated more with the main games. Anyway, I'm thinking of all these ways that it could appeal to a lot more people, generate interest, have people from different modes come in and, play a different experience to get a certain unlock. Like there's so much potential for that. I believe one day Call of Duty will get there. Yeah. One day.
That'd be wild. Yeah, I actually didn't know that mobile integrated with COD even that one time. That just shows you how little I thought that it was connected. So
it's still connected now with battle passes and weapons and levels, but
I didn't even know that.
But only Warzone Mobile, by the way, not COD Mobile. COD Mobile is its own thing that completely.
Oh,
separate.
okay.
Warzone Mobile is Warzone Mobile offered Rebirth, Verdansk, whatever. That got weirdly enough that got revealed during MW2 COD Next.
I remember
and then
that.
released in stages for different regions all the way until the global launch in like season 3 of Modern Warfare 3. And then when it came out, it was already outdated. It was connected to like MW2's movement and mechanics, and then got Omni movement with BO6, but it just. I don't know what went wrong there, where it came out way too late.
Yeah, that's wild.
It makes quite literally no sense what happened there. But again, that's an example of like something that had so much sauce and potential and just didn't go anywhere for some reason. And like maybe get some more consultants, get some more creators. I'd love to sit with a group of like 100 people. Let's throw some ideas at corporate, and I think we can truly get to a really good place with all that synchronization wild. Again. Seriously.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna jump back to these wrap up questions.
Yeah,
and basically to kind of circle back to the Sledgehammer making kind of the zombies mode that you have enjoyed and has done the most innovation. Would you like to see other studios work on zombies? We actually really didn't talk about that throughout the podcast, but do you want to see like Infinity Ward or Sledgehammer work on stuff, or do you think Treyarch should just be at the helm?
Yes and no. I think Black Ops 4, although released pretty rough with the lack of QA testing, blue screens, and whatever, even though the game got fixed within like a month and a half, I think that's blown out of proportion too. I think there was definitely a sign of burnout, even with BO4, because we had just had several years in a row of zombies. It was like BO2, then Advanced Warfare. Then I don't like that. I think zombies needs to feel special and exclusive, and especially if it's going to be forcibly synced with Warzone mechanics and like what we talked about earlier, then every studio would probably have to make it feel almost the same as what we have now. Like how different could they really push it now?
That's a good point.
I don't really want to see that. Although not that I'm against, like I'm not one to say, hey, only Treyarch should be allowed to do it. I get it. It's their baby. Maybe they feel that way, but I want to see like Extinction, DMZ. I want to see all these different third modes that can thrive. I really believe all these modes can thrive. And it would not only reel in new people like extraction shooter fans or whoever, but you would certainly get zombie people that try out the aliens or the dinosaurs or the whatever it is. If every studio can have their thing, I think Sledgehammer might have found it with like the Get High parkour thing. Maybe that could be their thing. Infinity Ward's clearly doing DMZ again. Great. I think if each developer can do something like that and then get some help from High Moon and Beanox, who've been helping Warzone for years, they've remastered a bunch of maps now. Like, let's see that so that Treyarch's not forced to just try to further their narrative, which is already struggling right now in other studios' games. And they have to connect, the 90s, 2000s, the 40s. Like, that really hurts zombies in more ways than not. I think back then it hurt burnout with gameplay. Now it's, I think, hurting narrative a little bit when I have so much shit to connect to.
Yeah, so that's a really good point.
Let's see these studios try something else. I think there's definitely a lot of rich ideas of things they can focus on that aren't zombies, for sure.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. I've never considered that because I agree with you. I think the part of the reason BO4 got a little bit of hate was it showed that other studios can do this pretty well, can make a good zombies game if they want. And it also showed that, going through these deep quests and having all these puzzles to solve and stuff, if it's not done in an appropriate pacing, it can lead to a lot of burnout. And I think the same thing would happen with, all this progression, the age of retention and progression. My least favorite age of all.
The games could all be perfect, but then what that does is it keeps raising the bar higher and higher for expectations of perfection. And then you get to a point, like we kind of saw with BO6. They had 4 years. I see this comment every day on Twitter, YouTube. They had 4 years. They had 4 years. All you got to reply with is that graphic. If you care enough to reply with that graphic. I know Detonated put it out a few months ago. It's like every project they've worked on since 2020. Nobody could look at that and say, yeah, they've had 4 years to just work uninterrupted on Black Ops 6. So the amount of time from their last launch to this one, that creates an expectation in and of itself. And you want them to have more dev time. I'm not saying they shouldn't. You want them to have more dev time. But then if you also have, so many iterations releasing every year, and even if they're good, it still can create that burnout that I think can become problematic. Yeah. No matter how good the next game is. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
I mean, Jason Blundell confirmed as much that, you have three 3 years. 3 years. Sorry, I was trying to do quotations. I pulled out all three of my fingers. Yeah, three
Yeah,
years.
it works.
To but they sometimes wouldn't get really working on things till 9 months before launch. So it's just a hard job, and I feel for the devs, but I also try to remember because sometimes I'll hear people say like, uh, we should be grateful for this but it's like, dude, we're paying customers. Like if they were doing this for free and out of the kindness of their hearts, it'd be a different tune. But we are customers
Yeah.
and I know it's a special medium and I love gaming. It's the best art medium of all. It combines the best of literally everything: music, art, movies, interactive puzzles. It's literally the best.
Oh
But
yeah.
we're still customers and I still think there's a standard of quality that should be adhered to. But
Wholeheartedly agree, man. I think about two things from what you just said. First, the direction they've taken the gameplay because of Warzone has nothing to do with us paying for the map packs or us getting free updates. If anything, bundle sales being great will help fund post-launch content. Or you could have a Vanguard scenario where nobody's playing, nobody's buying, and then you get cut off after 5 seasons. So quality, I don't think changes based on how we're downloading the content. But I think it's unfair when they bring something in that people have been asking for. For example, the Warzone overhaul we're about to get, and people are like, instead of saying, "Hey, this should have never been removed, but happy it's happening," people will get aggressive and be, "Hey, don't celebrate this. We shouldn't be happy about this." I think there's ways to communicate the frustration. Um, Not saying like, "Oh, bend over backwards and be thankful that we finally got something." I'm saying at least appreciate that movement. Change is happening. There's movement and progression with community feedback, but then just pray that doesn't get reset and removed again within a few months. I think there's a calm approach to it, and people take it too far
yeah.
on social media with being aggressive towards people that probably don't even make these choices. And I feel bad. I feel for those devs that don't get to
Yeah.
make these calls.
Yeah, it's like when I think the Tombs, like not the story blog, but they had released a blog before that, kind of talking about the map and some of the teasers. And I was like, I posted and I was like, hey, good job, Treyarch. I like when you guys do this stuff. Don't reveal a ton of information. I really liked how you're being communicative with us and highlighting other artists in the community, and I really like that. And people were writing in my replies like, oh, praising the devs for doing the bare minimum. It's like, first of all, let's just pretend it is the bare minimum. Yes, I am going to, because I want them to do the bare minimum. And then I'm going to praise them for that. I'm going to praise them for the next level and the next level and the next level because I want them to do good things. I don't care if it's the bare minimum or not. Like I genuinely want to have a good relationship with these devs, and I want them to make a product that I really care about, and I want them to do it well. So I just think it's silly to say not to give them positive feedback, because how else are they going to know if what they're doing is correct?
Well, you can never win with these people either. I think people fail to realize that multiple things could be true at a single moment in time. Steam could be suffering, but PlayStation could be thriving for the player count of COD. And who cares? We don't own the game. We're not profiting from the player count. You shouldn't care about things like that all that much. But I think it's silly when you have grifters that spread misinformation, and then with that really does cause damage. People don't realize how much damage that can cause. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people comment, "Oh, there's an event pass. How much do you have to pay for the event?" It's like, I think you're blowing things out of proportion. You don't have to pay to play red light, green light, or pay to enjoy an LTM, or it's just a half price bundle, the Frontman, Master Splinter. And if you don't care about cosmetics, then you shouldn't care about that. You know what I mean? You can still critique and be like, hey, this shouldn't exist, or they could have done it that way. But you can also still praise good decisions being made at the same time. Like, I don't know. I think people think in such a black and white box where it's like, it's either this or that, and there's no room for discussion in between about meeting in the middle or whatever. It's silly. And I think, grifters have certainly exploited the community quite a bit with Black Ops 6, especially with, conspiracies of things that aren't true, looking at patents that are outdated or patents that don't mean anything. It's like people are going really deep into things to try to justify their misery when all they have to do is just stop playing the game and just move on to something else. Like, it's not that hard. Start a family, get a job, or, switch content, whatever you have to do. Like, spreading misery online is not going to help the game. Devs don't care about that. And I don't think people after a while are going to stick around to hear the same shit over and over again.
Fair enough.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
That's fair enough. We have two wrap up questions left. They're pretty simple. So this one is, what's your craziest or hottest take about COD Zombies? And if you have other hot takes, feel free to share them.
Hottest take on COD Zombies. I will say that Black Ops 4 Zombies, I'll go back to BO4. I think Black Ops 4 should have stuck to Chaos year one. I think it should have done just the full year. It should have just did a full send of Chaos which I think was probably the plan anyway. At one point, if I had to guess, and then year 2 would have been Ether, but I think Black Ops 4 should have just stayed Chaos all the way through, because what that would have done is, okay, they would have cut off BO4 after a year anyway. It would have saved the climax Ether deserved for a game like Cold War, which maybe this wouldn't have worked because of the Warzone-ification, but it wouldn't have felt like they had to rush such an important ending to Ether. Even if the writing would have been the same, still could have got some more CGI cutscenes, maybe more in-depth maps or whatever the case would have been. I think it would have then maybe allowed for people to resonate more with Chaos and appreciate it more. Now people are, even though, like, you know, I think that's certainly a hot take. I also don't think, I'll also add to this, I don't think the Rise and Drax the best map of all time. I think it's Blood of the Dead.
Goated.
I love Blood. I also think, let me see, because it was hot take on a map and a mode.
Just COD Zombies, whatever you want to.
COD Zombies in general. Okay. I think Blood of the Dead's better than the Rise and Drac, narratively, gameplay wise, reward wise.
It's so good.
And I love BO3, but it's not the best Zombies of all time. I don't think it's the best Zombies of all time.
Okay, well that's in the lightning round. So save that one. Save that one.
Got you.
I love Blood of the Dead so much. I will say I half agree with your hot take about Chaos. I think that Ether should have just been the first year, and then they should have done Chaos after that. Just to let us. We've been waiting, a few years for the story. Finish the story and then bring in this new cast. And then I think people would have been more receptive to it and really liked it. And then it could have been the actual game from here on out rather than doing the reboot, or maybe they would have done the reboot either way. We can't know for sure. That's but I still think either way, like just focusing on one story at a time, giving it the room to breathe that it needed. So like you said, so that they could take their time with it rather than trying to do two kind of stories simultaneously and both of them not getting the love that they deserve. So, so the last wrap up question, it's not a huge deal. I was just curious, do you cover any types of games on YouTube, or is COD like your main thing? And do you have any other YouTube channels?
COD's been my main game since at least Black Ops 4. I played a lot of other games before that. I think during Vanguard's era, I wasn't too much into COD at that time. I think it was a really rough game to try to cover. So I actually branched out. I had a second channel. It was like DK Dynamite Plus, and I was just playing a bunch of other games, Halo, Dead by Daylight, whatever. Anything that was enjoyable at the time. And it was more in part too because I had like a Facebook contract that year, so I was covering variety through that. But once MW2 came back, like I think COD was back at that point as far as interest in the community. So I've been doing COD full time for the most part, but I do have a second channel that just kind of kickstarted about a month and a half ago. It's Detonated. It's a Detonated YouTube channel, and it will eventually, as the outlet will through detonated.com, will eventually expand to covering other games. Having more writers, having more managers a part of the org. We'll definitely have other games covered eventually, but for now, Detonated still just covers COD through the website and through the second channel, which has been used, I'd say, for reaction content, tier lists, podcast clips, and then like clips of the week from the COD community, special reports. So it's been fun to just have some extra content to produce on that channel as we get closer to Detonated eventually expanding to other things, even outside of gaming, entertainment as well.
Yeah, the Detonated thing is really cool. Like, it's funny because when it got like when you started really getting in my algorithm, I remember the first time, I can't remember exactly what it was, like a couple of years ago. How long has Detonated been around? It's been around for a bit.
Oh, funny story. So I met my buddy Fajardi through like a random live stream when I had I had maybe a couple thousand subs. I had like 3 viewers in my stream playing Chronicles, and I met him. We became friends, started playing some zombies together. I didn't realize he was a graphic designer. He became my main thumbnail guy. He's an amazing dude, just a great friend overall. And then, over the years, been doing work together. We decided to start an outlet together to expand on the coverage that I'm already producing, that he's making, in the form of journalism. And we threw Detonated out there. I think it was season 4 of Modern Warfare 2 with the launch of Vondel. We launched it then, and with the site, with the Twitter, all in sync with my channel. The problem was during MW3's, I think it was second season, Google, which you've seen this, I'm sure, with YouTube and Google now, decided to change something, and Google effectively shadow banned just about every gaming outlet out there. That's why you're seeing sites like Charlie Intel and a lot of sites out there that have shut down, have done layoffs. They pretty much mass shadow banned gaming journalists because there were people out there, I believe, probably utilizing AI to write, to spam ads and to kind of write slop. And I think they put a big hammer down on journalism in general if you weren't part of big tech. And Detonated got hit for about 10 months, and we got unshadow banned as of like, I want to say December 17th, a few months ago. So now the site can function again. Articles can be in the algorithm and search engine again, which effectively again hurt like a whole income source for like almost a year. It was very sad. But the Twitter kept going, and we launched a stockpile, which is like a COD tracker for bundles on the site. We have the Codex, which is kind of like a big collection of all intel in zombies. So we still were able to do other things with the site. Even if articles were being pushed out there in Google anymore, we're able to do other things that were in search results. So we still kept the site alive and, had to postpone our plans, but we'll be resuming the plans to eventually have it branch out to many other things, even if COD is the foundation at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, even just when you post on Twitter, it just looks professional. It's a lot different from when I make something and I'm just like tweeting my thoughts, like seeing the D logo with like the little explosion in the back, and like, or at least that's how I look at it. And then or maybe I'm making up something. Isn't there little like diamonds on the back side?
No. So Fajardo's an amazing artist. He actually, the Twitter's all his. He fully writes the tweets out. He does all the graphics. I write some articles here and there, and I do a lot of promo on my channel, but and some managing and finance stuff. But no, he fully runs the Twitter. He does an amazing job with the captions. He has a big passion for it. He's always loved journalism, but mixing that with his talent for graphics, having the watermark on the side, the D with the shrapnel, the little dots, and he the watermarks on custom pieces. A good way to like visualize news, because oftentimes you see a lot of reports and then you just have no visual representation for certain reports that are out there. So it's cool to have that.
Yeah,
have that be a unique way to do it.
He's really talented. Just the, like you said, the little shrapnel, and I can always tell when it's yours, and like you'll get good renders, because I know that's, I don't know if it's where he started, but that's how I recognize him, was from his renders. And so like putting those in some of the in some of the work, or making it look like you'll create like a seasonal roadmap or whatever. And it's just because Treyarch hasn't put it out yet, but you want to represent that information. It's really well done. So kudos.
I appreciate that, man. I always find it funny that, some people don't get, obviously that's a whole other conversation for a different time, but like visually representing something that's discussed in a video could sometimes be referred to as like, it's clickbait, it's fake. It's meant to attract eyes. It's meant to, appeal and be bright and colorful and be clickable, but it's always made with intentions of like, let's have a nice custom piece to represent this title and this topic described in the video. That's really all it ever comes down to. I'll give them an idea like, hey, I want to make a video about this. What could you make? What could you make that looks, real fresh and exhilarating? And that's usually how it goes. It's never like we're sitting down clicking buttons trying to deceive people and like, hey, let's make something that looks official. So it's like making people believe that
you want it to look good.
Like Call of Duty. We want it to look good, and specifically, I'm not even joking here. The concept roadmaps that we do like twice a season, we've been reached out to before by Activision. They're like, hey, it looks a little bit too real. Can you change it up a little bit? Like we've been told that. So he's purposely tried to diverge from making it look too official. Like give it its own spin, give it a watermark. We've literally had to work around that at times. So we're never trying to sit there and be like, let's like deceive people with marketing and whatnot. Like we just want it to have its own look, right?
There's something that we talk about at my job all the time called like it's like ethical clickbait versus straight up lying. It's like you need to clickbait is not a bad thing. Lying is a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Like saying Zombies Chronicle 2 is here, and then it's like April Fool's or what. Well, maybe that would be funny, but you know what I mean? Like that's just a lie. So it's totally different. And your thumbnails are great. Like the way you cover news, like when I was just watching some of your videos before, and today, just to see what you've been talking about recently, just to make sure, I cover my bases and everything. And, just like the little things you do on screen, like, hey, make sure you check your videos in 1440p. Like, hey, we have this thing popping up on, like, all that stuff is it's just top notch. It's like, that's what outlets need to do to remind you, like, hey, this is how you do the best thing. Don't forget to do this. Don't forget to here's our branding. Like it takes a lot of work to do that. Now I know you probably reuse these assets and stuff to make it easier for you, so you're not like blowing your brains out, but it's still a lot of tedium goes into just producing one 10, 15, 20 minute video. It takes a lot of work. So,
Absolutely, man. Appreciate that.
yeah, of course. Okay. I was about to talk about more YouTube stuff, but I could do that forever. So I'm gonna put a cap on it and go into the lightning round. Now, if you feel like you need to justify your points, I'm not gonna stop you. You know,
Okay.
this isn't prison over anything, but just try,
No
if you
problem.
can't answer it in one word, that's ideal. But it's not a big deal either way. So, okay. Circling back to some stuff you were thinking is overrated, underrated. That's actually the first two questions. What is the most overrated zombies map of all time?
Overrated zombie map. Man. I'm gonna. I'll say Origins. I'll say Origins. I think I'm not too big of a fan of the loop and the Easter egg. Lot of running, lot of mud. I like the last half of the Easter egg, but I think Origins it was a bit overrated. I think the remaster was pretty cool in BO3, but I definitely love what it did as far as like introduce elemental wonder weapon ideas. But I think it was a bit overrated compared to like some of the more recent maps we've gotten.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what is the most underrated zombies map of all time?
Underrated. Wow. I think. Underrated. I think Forsaken's pretty underrated from Cold War. I think it was well received, but I feel like it doesn't get enough praise for some of the quests that it offers, especially the narrative that it dives into as well. I think Forsaken's one of them.
It's an interesting choice.
But to really, yeah, I also think Zetsubo is extremely underrated from BO3, and I always liked that map because I didn't have the issues that other people did with like stability and crashes on that map. But that map had a lot of problems when it came out. It kind of tarnished its rep right off the rip. I think narratively it's beautiful. I think that'll be my answer, Zetsubo.
Okay, no, those are good answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to be a little bit of a weird section only because things have changed since BO6 when I initially came up with this lightning round. So I probably got to tweak it a little bit, but these are gameplay related. So do you prefer the perk limit or the no perk limit gameplay?
I almost prefer no perk limit because it just gives you that freedom, right? But then you think about like a perkaholic gobblegum, which I know is like a microtransaction, and it's like, is it really special anymore because of that? I'll just go with no perk limit. I think it's cool to be able to experiment with the combination of different abilities each perk offers.
Okay.
I'd rather have none. Yep.
Shield versus armor.
Shield all the way. Shield is just I think armor really works for, again, open world Outbreak, but I think ROM-based maps need those buildable shields. Like, again, it's just magical. It's just something special that, you think about a buildable shield, like, oh crap, a unique shield per map, and does it have its own ability? Can you upgrade it? I always love buildables.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I think for something with the armor that they could add is like treating it like a shield. Like maybe it's like a bodysuit or whatever, and it has a fire ability or whatever, just having fun with it. But
right. More personality.
Well, this is going to be, I forgot. I'm going to have to remove this question. Next question was double tap or rarity system, but looks like we're going to be having both.
Having both. That concerns me though. It's like if it's an underwhelming perk, and then by the time you put all the augments on it, it's like, oh, maybe it's like double tap 1.0. It's okay. I would hope for like a 3.0 type revision where it just feels special and fundamentally changes gameplay.
I don't think it's actually going to add that much, but either way, what do you prefer? Like, I guess as a mechanic, do you prefer just getting double damage on your gun, or do you prefer just having like that grindy rarity system? I think you said earlier you don't like the rarity system, but
the rarity, for example, look at how there was different types of salvage in Cold War. That's just too much. BO6 walked back on that. The rarity system, it adds another element of like, okay, now you got to not just worry about your points. We got to worry about your salvage, which also is the currency you use for buildables. So then you have to like pick and choose. I just rather have double tap, man. I think, even if it's super broken, like, okay, we're halfway in the life cycle now. It could really fundamentally change gameplay and maybe make a lot more bullet weapons viable in higher rounds. So it's not just mutant injection farming, because even a legendary weapon doesn't do anything on high rounds. So like, it's cool to have, maybe nothing. Double tap allow you. Yeah, it does nothing. So it's like, if double tap could allow us to like use bullet weapons a little bit longer, I think that could be more fun.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. What perk would you like to see come back in BO6? Could be a new idea you have or a reused perk.
I like something similar to Blood Wolf Bite. I think that's always a really fun companion. And then you could like utilize the pets you get from the bundles, right? In Black Cell. I think that's a funny way for
That's
them to
actually a good
incorporate
idea.
it. But I've been a sucker and a shill for Zomshell. I know Vulture technically has that ability, but that was always a great perk. But I think anything lethal to end the cycle off on a bang, I thought they would end double tap off with the life cycle. But no, they're doing it now in season 3. So hopefully by like the 6th season, you get like a Winter's Wail or Widow's Wine replacement, like a lethal perk that way that's really overpowered. I think that would be so much fun. Those are always fun.
If they bring back, well, they are bringing back Frostblast, so I don't know if they're going to bring a Winter's Wail or a Widow's Wine now.
True,
because it really just is, control your own adventure, Widow or Winter's Wail, but or choose your own adventure. But okay, we touched on some of this stuff a little bit ago, but what is just like your favorite consumable system? It could be the cards from the Fate and Fortune cards, but BO3's Gobblegums versus BO6's Elixirs, World War II's D-pad system, whatever you want to call it.
Favorite consumable system. I'll go as far as to say, okay, look at Cold War's crystal upgrade system. The problem is then at a certain point, you don't have any more upgrades that you can unlock. You just max it all out. But I think Black Ops 3's Newton cookbook idea is brilliant. I think if you're able to take a stockpile, no pun intended, of a bunch of useless gums you're not gonna ever want to run, and you can trade them for better ones, it's infinite replayability right there. I think same thing as having like a off topic totally, but like having a zombies PvP mode, like a grief kind of thing, like that just it creates so many possibilities and combinations of outcomes and experiences. So I do think a cookbook that we got, what was it, year 2 in BO3?
Yeah,
I forgot what cookbook came out in BO3.
It was after, I don't know if it was during Chronicles, but it was
right before. It
was later.
Think that's something right. Which funny enough, the Black Market revamp in BO4 came late. A lot of things have come late and then have been forgotten, but there's some great features like that I think really improved the consumable system.
Yeah, that's one thing I think as Zombies fans we have to remember, like when we're in the middle of a game, is like, how is this game going to look 2 years from now, 3 years from now?
Right.
And Treyarch has generally been pretty good about making their games last for years to come. I'm just hoping that BO6 is going to be another one of those. So
for sure.
Okay. Should open world zombies come back? I think it is coming back, but I guess to refine the question a bit, would you like to see Outbreak, MWZ, a hybrid? What is your preference there?
I think if Treyarch has to do zombies for MW games, then I think the hybrid of DMZ and Outbreak is cool. But I think if they get to just do their own open world in their own Black Ops game, I would like it to be more of kind of similar to Green Run, which is rumored anyway right now. Like I think to see like a transit redone, but not necessarily Outbreak style. But it's almost big round based. I think that's a really cool idea to try again that we haven't seen in a while. Cold War had the warping from region to region, which I guess is cool too. But I would like to see it. I think to see a mode come out either at launch or pretty early on and then get like multiple seasons of support without them worrying about the next COD right away, I think that would be cool. Because Modern Warfare 3 Zombies had it down right, man. It launched really popular. Season 1 was huge. And then after that, it became more of the formulaic seasonal updates that were put out by, I think, Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, other studios. So I want to see Treyarch give it their all for multiple seasons, but not take away from round-based. I always prefer round-based. But if you could have both, then that'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. All right. This is the final question, and I save it for the last because I just have so much fun with it. If you could eliminate a zombies era from history, what would it be? Would it be Zelensky's? Would it be Blundell's? Or would it be the quote-unquote Kevin Drew era?
I think Zelensky, just because there's just really no side Easter eggs in most of those maps. And I think a lot of replayability from a zombie map now is, it's not about high rounds like it was before. Main quests are good too, but I think side Easter eggs are really important. So you go back to like BO1, BO2, there's like not much going on with some of those maps. I love the Zelensky maps too. Like I think I had a lot of good memories with the Victus maps with my friends, but can't really get rid of the Blundell era. There's no way. And the Kevin Drew era, I think, has a lot of potential. There's a lot of good things that have been achieved that are hopefully can only get better. So if I had to pick, that's what I would go with.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, that does it for all the questions I have for you, man. I really do appreciate you coming on. It's been a really good conversation. Always been wanting to talk to you. It's been, like I said, it's just been such an honor to be able to talk with all these creators such as yourself over that I've been watching over the years. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and I appreciate you coming on.
Really appreciate the invite, man. We'd love to have you on Bombshell anytime.
Hey,
during the Black Ops 6 cycle, dude.
I'm totally down. I'm totally down, man. I'm in the process of a move, so once I get settled, May onward
yeah.
would be a
Cool.
great time. So
awesome, man. Wishing you the best. Really appreciate the opportunity, man.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you all for watching the episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.